President Biden is making a long-awaited trip to Canada. The president and First Lady Jill Biden arrived last night. It's Mr. Biden's first visit to the country since he took office, and today he'll be holding a joint news conference with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to discuss challenges both countries are facing, and will address the nation's parliament in Ottawa. Christina Ruffini is in Ottawa with more on this. Boy, I knew it was going to be cold, Christina. And then I saw your shot. Ottawa's always cold. But until August. Anywho.
Anne-Marie, I'd like to know who's getting the warm assignments. Yeah, it's okay. It's
I know.
It's going to be, there's a lot to discuss on this trip.
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about what's on the president's agenda and why this is a significant trip.
Well, look, this is a trip that's been a long time coming. It's usually one of the first spots a president visit, but because of COVID and various other complications, it's taken President Biden a while to get here. So the agenda is significant. Top of the list, of course, is going to be China. Both leaders have said they need to strategically compete with China and cooperate where they can. But of course, you got to remember, we recently had these unidentified floating object incidents above U.S. and Canadian airspace. So one of the things they're going to talk about is upgrades to the radar system, to NORAD, to Northcom. The Canadians have said they're going to spend the next 6 years investing in that system, making improvements to it. The U.S. has said they need that to go faster. They want it to happen faster to make sure they're catching these objects before they get into airspace. The other thing on the agenda, Ukraine, of course, the two allies are pretty much lockstep on policy, but the U.S. is going to be pressing Canada to up its national security contributions to 2% of GDP, and that's in line with what they are trying to get from all NATO members. There's a whole host of other issues, including border security, immigration, economic issues. They're going to try to get through all of them in this very short visit. The president is only really on the ground here for about a day, and then he's back to the U.S.
So speaking of immigration and border security, this was actually quite surprising to me. There's an announcement that's expected to come. The two countries have hammered out a deal to turn away a greater number of asylum seekers who are crossing the border illegally. I had to Google this, because I said that's not accurate. I mean, how many people are really crossing the border into Canada? It turns out there has been a substantial uptick in people crossing the border from the U.S. into Canada illegally. Talk to me about the current situation and what this deal is supposed to do.
Yeah, so it dates back to this 2004 Third Safe Country Agreement, where basically if you go from the U.S. into Canada at an official border checkpoint, you get stopped and you have to apply for asylum in the country you're in, a little bit similar to what we do along our southern border. However, there's a point between New York and Quebec where it's a very popular illegal border crossing, and people are going north. It's not comparable to the numbers we see on the U.S. southern border, but it's about 50,000 people a year, and Canada has really been pressing the U.S. to make this change. So what they're going to do now is, previously, if you crossed at an unofficial border crossing and you made it into Canada, they wouldn't kick you back, and you could apply for asylum in Canada, for Canada, and stay on that side of the border. Now what they're going to do is they're going to be able to take those people and say, you have to leave, you have to go back into the U.S. and you have to apply for asylum there. And that's a reciprocal agreement, although it really does benefit the Canadians because the number of people crossing south from Canada into the U.S. is only a couple thousand a year.
Yeah, and I was reading that, people may wonder, how are you coming, say, from the southern border and making your way all the way up to Canada? Well, you remember all those buses that came up to New York, as well as sort of other ways, and that's part of the reason you're a lot closer to the Canadian border if you find yourself in New York. Haiti is also expected to be on the list. What are the issues there?
Look, both the countries are really concerned about the destabilized nature of Haiti at the moment. The U.S. is trying to press Canada to kind of lead the charge for an international peacekeeping force. U.S. officials are telling us that they just don't believe that country can be stabilized without some sort of boots on the ground. They really think it should be an international coalition. Given the history of U.S. intervention in Haiti, they don't think the U.S. should take the charge, and they're looking to Canada to kind of lead that effort. So far, the Canadians have been reticent to do that for similar reasons, and it's likely to go to the UN. The UN peacekeeping force has the history of doing this. They have the ability to do this. But any effort in the UN Security Council would likely be vetoed by China. So the U.S. is also going to look to Canada to help them pressure China in that venue to try to get them on board so that they can do something about the destabilized nature of the Haitian government right now.
All right, Christina Ruffini. Christina, thank you. Get inside.
Good morning, Michael.
Thank you. We will.